Hi, I'm Mark, this is Mark's Tech Vlogs on YouTube, and today I'm going to bring you guys a review of the new Switchbot K10 Pro mini robot vacuum cleaner. Now, Switchbot recently released the K10 Pro, which is the Pro version of the K10 Now, I reviewed the K10 on this channel a while back, and it's a brilliant mini robot vacuum cleaner and something I've been using every single day since. For that reason, when Switchbot released the Pro version, I was really excited to get my hands on it. And I want to be honest at the start of this video and tell you that Switchbot reached out and sent this to me for free to review. Now, whenever a company reaches out, I always say I'm going to make an honest review, and I've had that kind of relationship with Switchbot for a while now, and they're really up for honest reviews, so that's what you guys are going to get. That means that whilst I haven't paid for this product, I'm not being paid to make this video, it's not sponsored, these are just my honest thoughts. And I want to start off by talking about price. Now, the K10 Pro has a RRP of £600. At the time of recording this video, there is a launch offer that brings it down to $420, and quite regularly Switchbot run promotions on their own website and on Amazon, and I've also got a voucher code below that is 10% off on the Switchbot website. So make sure you use both the links below if you do want to check out the latest prices. That means that the RRP is quite pricey, although kind of comparable with competitors, but realistically you're never going to pay the RRP. That's because there's always offers going on. So let's move on and talk about design. So there's two parts of this vacuum. There's the vacuum itself, and then there's the docking station. The docking station is reasonably compact, but with space for a 4-litre bag. This means you're only going to need to empty it roughly every 90 days, according to Switchbot. Of course, this depends how much stuff it picks up. The docking station has a largely white design with a grey background where the machine docks. And personally, I think it looks nice and modern, and it just sits comfortably wherever you put it. The vacuum itself is one of the smallest robot vacuums out there, and Switchbot says it's 1 centimetre shorter than its competitors. And this small profile, both in width and height, means it can get into smaller corners and also even get under things like sofas and bookshelves. This is perfect for cleaning a bigger area of your room. And the design is largely white with some sensors on it which are black. It's also got the LiDAR sensor on top and then a dust cart on the rear, which is kind of clear plastic. The base of it has one brush on it, and you do get a spare in the box as well. All in all, the design is very similar to its predecessor, but with a few small tweaks where those new sensors are. If you do want to see a full comparison comparing the K10 Pro to the K10 then subscribe because that's going to be coming out soon. So let's move on and talk about setup. So setup is pretty simple. You just unbox everything, attach the brush to the vacuum, add the bag into the dock, and get it all switched on and plugged in. In the Switchbot app, you hit the plus button, find the vacuum, and then follow the instructions. Now, when I added mine, the K10 Pro wasn't actually in the list of items, so I just added a K10 The pairing instructions are pretty much the same, and this worked fine and still recognised it as the Plus model once it was added. It's also likely you're going to have a firmware update to do at this point as well. So let's move on and talk about spec. So firstly, this is Matter compatible if you use it with a Switchbot Hub 2 or a Switchbot Hub Mini with Matter. That means it can appear in something like an Apple Home app, although at the moment it appears as a switch because the Home app doesn't support vacuums. This is changing in iOS 18, so I expect we'll see this updated in the future. That means all you can do from Apple Home is turn it on or off, or rather start and stop. Without the hub, it does work with Siri shortcuts, Alexa and Google. This is because this device has built-in Wi-Fi and it supports 2.4 GHz Wi-Fi. The vacuum has a new PSD sensor which is used for better spatial perception. This allows it to easily avoid things like chair legs. And alongside that, that LiDAR on the top is used for quick mapping and navigating around your room, as well as locating where it is if you plonk it down somewhere or have to move it. The vacuum has suction power up to 3000 PA, which is great for kind of most rooms. The actual brush on it is a new solely rubber brush. This helps prevent tangles. And then in terms of different power levels and noises, it supports 4 different vacuum modes. This includes a low one of 600 PA, which is fine for just picking up dust. I tend to just have it on max mode for daily cleaning, and if you use it on carpets, you are certainly going to need that. It also supports multiple maps. This means you can get it to remap another floor in your house and manage your maps in the app. You don't even need to have that dock on the same floor. In terms of battery life, Switchbot say it can last for up to 225 meters squared on one charge. It supports the ability on bigger areas to go back, charge, and then continue where it left off. The downside of my house has a kitchen, a bathroom, and a living dining area. It easily gets through all of that on one charge and has plenty to spare. And then finally, it supports a mopping feature, which is basically the same as the K10 And it's not really a mopping feature. You basically have a plate you attach to the bottom of it, and you put a wet wipe around that plate. Now, you do get a pack of wet wipes in the box, which is great, but it's not really a mopping feature. It just drags a wet wipe around your floor. That means if you are looking for a robot vacuum where it has a mopping feature, this isn't one for you. Alongside those wet wipes in the box, you also get 2 bags, a spare brush, a spare filter, and some instructions. So let's move on to the most important part of this review and talk about using this, and I've been trying to put it through its paces over the last week. Once set up, you can activate it in a variety of ways. You can activate it in the Switchbot app, you can schedule it, or you can even activate it with your voice or a Siri shortcut. The first time it's used in a room, it will carry out a mapping feature. This is a pretty efficient feature and even more efficient than the previous model. It also seems to divide rooms up pretty accurately in the app. You can then set no hoover and no mop zones if you want to as well. This is great if you've got areas where it might get stuck or if you've got areas where there's cables. I recommend making sure your room is nice and clear before you start off that mapping feature. You can also set schedules, including the mode, strength of suction, time and days. This is basically what I've done with it doing a 9 AM clean on weekdays. This helps keep the downstairs of my house nice and clean, especially when cats kick litter in places. And that small profile means it can get into tiny corners, so it has no issues getting around chairs and going under tables. It can even get under my sofa, which means it hits areas that I couldn't reach if I was vacuuming. And that suction power is easily enough to pick up all the stray cat litter and cat hair and all sorts. And I actually gave it a test by throwing down a few different things. So I put down some semolina, some pasta, and some cat biscuits. And it cleaned all of those up really well with no issues. Whilst this isn't a comparison video with the K10 Plus, one thing I have noticed is the difference in speed of cleaning. Now the original K10 Plus could do the downstairs of my house in about 40 minutes. The K10 Plus Pro does it in about 25. And then once the vacuum is done cleaning, it will return itself to its dock and empty itself. And as I said, thanks to that 4-litre bag, you only really need to check it once every few months. You can also set Do Not Disturb modes in the app so that it doesn't empty itself, which is quite a loud process during certain hours. So let's talk more about the app. So when you go into the Switchbot app, you can easily toggle start or stop on the vacuum tile itself. If you click it, you get some simple options to clean and recharge. And if you click more, you get even more options. This is where you can view your maps, the battery level, manually trigger empty and dust, update room divisions, set no-go zones, and change vacuum mode. Clicking more helps you do some extra things as well, like find the robot, update voices, see reports and schedules, and check the accessory usage life, which includes the remainder of time required before you need to replace some of those accessories or even wipe the cliff sensors. And it's a good time to say that the cliff sensors are really good at making sure it doesn't fall off edges. You can also set things like Do Not Disturb times, sound volumes, button lights and child locks as well by clicking on the cog in the top right. It's also here you can update firmware and connect to cloud services. That includes setting up Siri shortcuts for a whole variety of tasks the vacuum can do. And because this device has built-in Wi-Fi, the only reason you might need one of Switchbot's hubs is if you want to have it appear in the Apple Home app. The Switchbot app also sends you notifications when it starts and stops cleaning, but also things like if it gets stuck somewhere. And this is probably the main downside of this vacuum. The lower profile of it means it can get into tighter spaces, but it also means it does struggle with steps. So for example, there's a small threshold between my bedroom and hallway, and it can't get over it. Now other bigger vacuums have managed this with no issues. Now for the downstairs of my house, this has been absolutely fine because it's fine with the sloped thresholds that I've got. But if you've got bumpier thresholds, this is something to bear in mind. But as I said, it's really useful for the downstairs of my house, which is all on one level or with a very small sloped threshold. And you can really see those new sensors in action, the way it kind of glides around chair legs. And it's certainly better at avoiding objects than the K10 Plus, although of course that bumper on the front means it doesn't do any damage if it does crash into something. And then it also has the same downside as other robot vacuums, in that it can get tangled on things like cables. If it does, it will stop and it will send you a notification. You can then go and sort it out. And then we should also talk about the mopping mode briefly. If you want to use it, you just attach the mopping plate, which you can store in the dock, and attach a wet wipe onto that mopping plate. The vacuum will detect that that's attached, and you can send it off into mopping mode. Realistically, as per the K10 Plus, this isn't a mop. It's basically taking a wet wipe across your entire floor. And whilst it does vaguely do some cleaning, it's certainly not going to replace mopping. It's for that reason I'm not talking about it much in this video, and I don't really think it's a feature. But all in all, what is the verdict on the K10 Plus Pro from Switchbot? Other than having a really wordy name. With a price point that's pretty good when offers are on, this is a fantastic little vacuum. It can get into small places really efficiently, avoids objects better than any other vacuum I've seen, and it has plenty of suction. And on top of that, it carries out a cleaning task really quickly. The large dock space means that you're probably only going to need to replace the bag about every 3 to 4 months. And that means really it's just fully automated. It takes itself around, it does the vacuuming, and it empties itself. And if you do need spares like filters and brushes and bags, Switchbot do sell them at a pretty affordable price. The main downsides, as I said in this video, are its ability to get over kind of non-slope thresholds. And really this is the payoff of a small profile of this vacuum. And that is something to bear in mind, but for my use case it's absolutely perfect because it can get under my sofa and go around the whole of my downstairs with no issues. If you do want to pick one up, I'll put links below to it on Amazon and Switchbot's website, which will go to whichever country you're in. If you go via the Switchbot website, there's also a discount code where you can get 10% off. Those are affiliate links, so if you use them, I'll get a very small cut of what you spend, and that just helps me keep this channel going because I don't make these videos and get paid for them. I make these to share my thoughts on tech. If you do use those links, thank you. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you've got any comments, stick them below and I will answer those. And subscribe if you want to see other videos when they come up, including my comparison video of the K10 Plus and K10 Plus Pro. I'll see you guys again soon.